Hi, writers. We're here today and we're going to be adding some muscle to our story. We've thought about adding the bones to our story by planning it out in a story map, but our stories really don't hold up. They kind of fall apart, just like a skeleton at Halloween time would fall apart if we didn't have any muscles in our story. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to add muscle to our story by using the in-between parts of our story. And then hi, writers. Today we're going to be adding to our story, our narrative story, where we picked a picture yesterday. We worked on putting some bones in our story and thinking about planning it out, what was going to happen at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And we used a picture, but bones, just like skeletons at Halloween time, cannot stand on their own. They kind of just fall apart and they're nothing. They're just bones. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to add some muscle to your story and elaborate our story by adding the in-between parts and the bold beginning and the exciting ending so that you can go ahead and start writing out your story and planning it. This is just a quick write. A couple paragraphs is good to tell your story, but thinking about elaborating. So today I want to show you how to do that. So we started with our picture, and remember yesterday I was starting with our frogs in school. And then I put my bones together, that it was going to be a frog classroom, and there was a teacher frog and student frogs, and there were magic frogs, and they lived in a pond outside the school playground. And the frogs were learning to write in school. And then at the end, they become expert frogs. Well, those are just my bones. So now I want to strengthen my story. I want to really add that muscle to it. So what I'm going to do is I want to think about my beginning. How am I going to start my story? How am I going to get my reader interested? I somehow have to talk about how they're magic frogs in a pond outside my classroom or outside on the playground. And so I want to think about how are they there? Why are they there? Why are they magic? I want to grab the reader's attention. So I'm thinking I am going to start with a bold beginning. I'm going to think about repeating a word. Frogs ribbit. So I'm going to use ribbit. It just works for this story. So ribbit. I am having a major problem here. I don't have my story that I typed. So I am going to have to go back a version, and I'm going to just have to show you what I did and talk through this and see what we can do here. And thank you for your patience here as I am working on this story. So I am, whoops, that is not exactly what I wanted either. But my story is right here, and I'm going to add a bold beginning. So what I did is I thought about ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. And I want my green. I'm going to use my bold beginning. I'm going to use my lime green. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. There were 6 magic frogs in a pond. In a pond. One time. Oh, and then I kind of repeated my self. So I'm just going to say the 6 magic frogs lived in a pond outside the school beyond the playground. Okay, so now I've got where they were and talked about it. So I'm going to continue my beginning. I'm adding to my beginning. They were magic frogs because they would croak and become whatever they wanted to be. These 6 slimy green frogs longed for a different life than sitting on rocks in the pond's edge in a tall, deep grass. So I used my beginning and my setting to kind of set up my story. So I'm thinking about my beginning and my story, but I haven't connected that muscle yet to why they're in school. So I'm going to continue with my beginning and start another paragraph. And that paragraph is Craig Croker told the rest of his buddies that he was sure that he could have a better life than sitting in the mud by the pond. He croaked loudly, and one of the students from the school heard him. The small boy crouched down and reached out to Craig. Before Craig knew it, he was being squeezed and picked up by a child and was being whisked away to the little boy's friends. I still haven't gotten to the frogs are in the classroom yet, so I'm going to continue my story, but my scene's changing, so I'm going to start a new paragraph. Now, these young boys, now all these young boys wanted one of their own amphibians. Craig, being a magic frog and a bit uncomfortable being alone and away from his buddies, blinked once, winked twice, and croaked 3 times. Oh, I'm going to add, that's how his magic worked. Oh, I can spell worked. Now, each one of his buddies were hopping near the feet of the children. The children were laughing and giggling and having a grand old time playing with their new friends. When recess had ended, each one of the 6 boys carefully placed their small croaker into their pockets, being careful not to squish it. So recess is over. Now maybe I can get to the frog classroom. So now I'm going to think about the middle, and I'm going to turn my middle black because I want to show that I'm working on my middle from my bones. So now I'm working on my middle. They're in the classroom. I'm thinking, why do they want to be in the classroom? How'd they get to be a frog classroom? We're going into a normal school. So I'm going to continue my story. Once inside the building, the boys secretly kept their frogs in one desk. In order to keep the frogs from being bored and making noises by croaking, they were each given their own desks, a little pencil, and a notebook. The boys also built them their own little desk inside the desk. So it was a mini schoolroom in a desk. Now I've got to my middle, but I'm going to continue my middle a little bit because I don't want to get to my end yet because I don't know what my end is because they were expert writers. I haven't gotten there yet. We better get those frogs learning. Being magic frogs, they had to implement their magic. Craig blinked once, winked twice, and croaked 3 times. They needed an interpreter to help them understand what the human teacher was saying. Poof! They had an instant frog teacher. Mr. Froggy was his name. He stood in front of the frog students and helped them to understand how to create stories and write them. Mr. Froggy told them about the bones of the story and how to add muscle to a story by creating the in-between parts and elaborating them and strengthening them. The frogs wrote, and so did all the students in the class. Frogs couldn't wait to get to write their own stories. And I'm going to put down there, I'm going to add there that they were very quick learners. Okay, that's a nice transition to think about how did they become expert writers then. So now I'm going to go into my ending. I'm working on the ending of my bones. I'm going to turn that red. Craig Croker and his friends became authors that day in the boys' desk. Very quick learners. You don't become authors that fast, but these little froggies don't have a long life, so they need to be learners really fast. They were sure that they could now imagine and write any story they ever wanted to write. Craig Croker's first book was soon published under the title, How to Be a Magic Frog in a Classroom. One of Craig's buddies wrote a book about the adventures outside pond life. Each frog was proud of their education that they had received in the little schoolroom of a desk. Their dedication to learning has inspired many other frogs to now attend school. And then I'd have to close it up with an exciting ending. And maybe I'm going to tie it all together. I'm going to make it a darker red so I know what my exciting ending is now many frogs attend human school every day. Every day, maybe you have a class of frogs in your desk. You better check. I know all of you might be peeking inside your desk now to see if those magic frogs are there. But I just wanted to add some muscle to my story. So today and the next couple days, we're going to be working on adding some muscle to that story. So let's start thinking. Let's think how you're going to build those bones and start your beginning, your middle, and your end. So think a moment. Think about how you're going to start your beginning, turn it green, get your beginning written. You get that done, move on to your middle and your ending. I know you can do it, writers. Good luck. I can't wait to read your stories.